It's rut and river.
Yes.
Correct.
R-U-T.
I rest my beard hair on it.
And then you know you're there.
Like a nice, gentle little pillow for my beard.
Right.
And then I'm all up in it.
Oh.
I'm like Kobe beef for sharks.
Can I ask you, what made you guys call me up about, well, this?
That's what tickles our fancy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thought the Rocky Mountains would be rockier.
John Denver is not accurate.
Man.
A guy like you, who has absolutely no clue, and I can hear it in your voice, that, I mean, you're a blank canvas. I mean, I can just start with you like from scratch.
You're going to tell me, a grown man, you're telling me what lure to use and how to fish?
You guys didn't snap your whopper plopper off either, though.
Sorry, I blew up over that.
All right, guys, welcome back to this week's episode of the Sonic Campfire with the Rut and River Pursuits podcast. This is Reality Outdoor Radio, where our mission is to get you outdoors by connecting you with the people, skills, and products you can trust.
You can trust them.
April is Trout of Control, and I'm Steve.
I'm Will.
It's Bucky.
This is Dave. I'm Catfish.
What's
Fellas,
up?
This episode is brought to you by Finn's Fishing. Guys, Finn specializes in offering premium braided lines that are designed for specific fishing styles.
What kind of styles?
That is a mouthful. You know what I like most about Finn's?
What's that,
What's that, bud?
Their stuff is made in America.
That's cool.
Yeah, spool up with Finn's original PRT braid for yanking those lunkers out of thick vegetation. Try out one of Finn's shock absorbing lines for throwing those topwater lures that we are anxious to get on.
I love punching those pads.
Punching pads and throwing topwaters. You know what? If you have terrible time with wind knots like I do, you got to give Finn's Wind Tamer a try.
Give me a 2-pack.
Check out
Tame those wind knots.
Tame them, baby. Check out their Facebook and Instagram pages by searching Finn's Fishing. Hop on over to their website at finsfishing.com.
Cool.
Remember, Finn's fishes better. Guys, like I said, April's Trout of Control.
It sure is.
I can't help it. I'm losing it. I haven't slept in a week.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah. And tonight's not going to...
It's because you have like wax worms rolling around in your head.
Yeah. Tonight's not going to help me sleep at all either. It's not going to settle me down because we've got Chris Shaffer from Pautzke Bait Company on the line with us. Chris, how are you?
Hey, Chris.
I don't know what you guys, I don't know what makes you guys think we know anything about trout.
But I'm going to throw this in too, and I have to. You know something about crappie too.
We do, and we've been telling people that 2.5 pounds is not that big anymore. I mean, we were helping people catch those, so we're expanding into that world and having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah,
that's nuts. Yeah. Chris, can you tell us a little bit about Pautzke Bait Company?
You know, Pautzke Bait Company, we call ourselves the grandfather of trout fishing in North America. We were kind of the first people to come out with trout baits. We've been around since 1934. We're now approaching more than 100 million jars of salmon eggs sold, if you can believe that. Over 100 million. And everybody knows that there's something called Berkeley Power Bait nowadays. We recognize it too.
Never heard of it.
Berkeley, yeah, I mean, we don't like to talk about it, but before that came out, we used to sell about 10 million jars a year of Potski salmon eggs. I mean, now we still do a pretty good number, but other people have cut into that pie just like everywhere in the fishing industry. But
sure.
Yeah, we do a real good trout business, and it continues to grow again. Seems like trout fishing's on the upswing in America again, and you'd be surprised to know that Pennsylvania is our number 5 overall state in trout sales.
What? I can believe it. Why is that?
We thought it would be better.
Yeah.
Reason being, and we've learned this, Pennsylvania is very short and sweet. You have an amazing trout season that lasts about 2 months, and the rest of it is not as big, whereas some of these states out west, for example, California, Colorado, New Mexico, Washington, Oregon, the trout fishing never stops. Stocking goes year-round. People fish for them every day of the year. And that's the difference, I think, in total overall sales. So we experience what you guys do, during your month of April, probably 6 to 8 months out of the year in the West. Wow. So it's a little bit different, but give a lot of credit to Pennsylvania. You guys stock more fish in 2 months than I've ever seen anywhere else on the planet.
Holla.
So it's pretty amazing. And we hear people complain there's not enough fish here. Well, you guys are pretty lucky with what you have.
Call us up.
That's a Matthew McConaughey said it best. There's a rookie numbers. You need to bump them up.
It's crazy how popular trout fishing is here, especially during the stocking season. I think it's the 18 southeast counties of the state opened last week, and a lake that I bass fish on sometimes. You might see one other person there on a summer day fishing, and there was 20 or 30 boats in every inch of shoreline. Mm-hmm. What people were bushwhacking through, thickets to try to get spots on the bank because there's just so much. It's just so popular.
Never understood that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I grew up like that. I grew up doing it. That's why getting there 2 hours early to save a picnic table.
Yeah, that ain't even enough.
I think Bucky said it, but it is literally the first day of buck for fishing.
Yes.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's where fishing becomes like big game.
Because if you go out on the Monday, just 2 days later, it's 60% of the people are gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's when the best fishing is too.
Yeah.
Once they all leave.
And the trout have had a little bit of time to settle.
Do you see that in other parts of the country, Chris, with that sudden rush, at the beginning of the season?
It is in some states, and in other states it never stops. I think Pennsylvania, it's kind of like a way of life. Everybody's family and kids, dad, grandma and grandpa, great grandpa, they all go together on opening day. And then I think in some respects, after a week or two, it kind of fizzles out, where other parts of the country, you have an opening weekend hit, you have a Memorial weekend hit, 4th of July, Labor Day, and then people are camping all summer long and hitting these places. And really, the more popular places, these places get stocked every other week, year round, with lots of fish. It never stops. But I got to give it to Pennsylvania. We have filmed, I would say, in 25 different states for trout in the last 3 years. What we've noticed about Pennsylvania is, ironically, the people we talk to in Pennsylvania, a lot of them complain, these fish aren't as good as they used to be. Well, be careful what you wish for, because a lot of states stock nothing but an 8 to 9 inch fish. If you drive 500 miles south to South Carolina, or Georgia, 11 or 12 inch stock trout is a good fish. For you guys, you look at that and you're not excited at all. Pennsylvania does an amazing job with not only stocking quality fish, but you have golden rainbows, you have tiger trout, which aren't from a state. I know your clubs do that, but you have brook trout, you have brown trout, you have rainbow trout. That's incredible. Half these states you get a rainbow, and that's all you get. So, we love going to Pennsylvania and filming. I think we filmed somewhere around 50 episodes the last 3 years in Pennsylvania. We film more in Pennsylvania than any other state, which is kind of incredible considering some of the numbers we do in other places. Yeah. But we do because, one, there's so much different kind of water there, and we love going where not every cast is the same 9 or 10 inch rainbow trout like it is in other states. In Pennsylvania, you can catch some places I've been where we've caught 5 species of trout in the same day without even shuffling our feet. Yeah. And that's pretty incredible. I mean, Pennsylvania doesn't give enough credit to what they do there, because you guys have an amazing resource. It might be short-lived, but when it's there, it's phenomenal.
This coming weekend, I'm actually going to teach, help teach hunter education in Bald Eagle Sportsman's Club, which is by State College, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
And right outside the classroom at break, the kids go down to see the trout. The Bald Eagle Sportsman's Club has an estimated 10,000 trout in their stockeries. It's a huge, huge ordeal. And they have 3 holding ponds for 3 different kinds of trout, plus, the concrete spillways with cages over them. Yeah. They must have 15 or 20 of those, and they're just
That's
jam-packed.
fun to watch, yeah.
It's a really big thing for, up in State College area, a lot of the stock trout come from
There's
Bald Eagle
a lot of cooperation between private clubs and found,
in the state.
In the state.
Yeah.
Hang on. 5 different species? I'm still caught up on that, guys. I'm still reeling that in.
I don't think I've caught 5
I don't
different
think you
species
have
of trout.
reeled it in at all.
I caught 3 out of the same lake in the last
You've got to start reeling
couple
them in.
days.
And that's exactly why
got a
I had
picture
to
of one of
back
those
that
for you.
up because
we go.
hats off, PA. I mean,
You're waking this guy up.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're seeing light buck.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
5 different species in one spot.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, guys. I needed to punctuate that.
You better check yourself.
I just did, I believe.
It's not common though. Remember, you've got to get that fish to bite, and it oftentimes takes us a while to get that one species to kind of cross it off. And the other thing that people from Pennsylvania don't necessarily realize, this whole cooperate nursery program is not common. I want to say I've seen maybe California has 1 or 2 where the state gives a local club maybe 5,000 fish and they grow them. But in Pennsylvania, you guys have a special component of this private co-op with the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission that goes a long way. Yeah. And you guys know that a lot of the trophy fish are raised by these clubs and these groups and these nonprofits. It's amazing. And that's why we keep coming back to Pennsylvania to promote trout fishing and to promote the resource, because you guys have one of the best programs in the country. I mean, of everywhere we've been, we've only seen one place that would probably top, that is not a fly fishing where you spend $500 a day to catch a 10-pound fish that was put in there and you take a picture and put it back in. And there's a few of those. Mm-hmm. But Pennsylvania itself, you can go anywhere in the state and have an opportunity to catch not just one, but several trophy trout a day, because of not just what the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission is doing, but every one of these private co-ops that are all over the place. I mean, it's a real special thing.
I agree with you. And even at the Frankstown Sportsman's Club back in the day, I've got to meet a lot of these guys. People don't realize the effort it takes for these guys that don't get paid anything to get down there and check on these trout constantly. And I mean, it's amazing how much time and effort some of these guys actually put into raising these trout.
Yeah, we've been talking with the people from Donegal,
right.
Fish and Conservation, and it's the same thing. And they're just so active.
They got guys that live it for free, right?
Is there such a thing like as the PA quintet? Like you want to come?
You mean like the Grand Slam of trout?
Exactly.
Sure.
Like I'm going to go to PA and I'm going to catch. My goal is to catch in the trip all 5 species.
I'll tell you what's happened that I don't think you guys see, because you probably, take it for granted because you live in PA or go down to West Virginia. The one thing Potski does have is a large audience. We've been around since 1934. Most people caught their first trout on our green label Balls of Fire eggs. And when we put out videos, they're seen by a lot of people. Because of the golden rainbow phenom that's going on in Pennsylvania the last couple of years, people from all over the country want to go to Pennsylvania to catch these golden rainbows. And I know
really
what's crazy about it is, you guys have seen it. There might be a truck and say 1,000 fish go in. What are 10 of those golden rainbows?
Well, no, wait a minute. What's a golden rainbow? Is that what we call
Palomino?
The Palominos?
Yeah.
AKA.
So in Pennsylvania, they're officially called golden rainbows. Yes, you did get them from West Virginia years ago, but because you altered the genetics of the fish, they named it golden rainbows. And people will argue with you. If you post that on your Facebook page, 500,000 haters will show up at the same time. The reality is, from the horse's mouth, the director of the PA Fish and Boat Commission, it is a golden rainbow, and he can provide you with all the information as to why. But the entire world messages us. We've had messages from people in China, Japan, Australia, New Zealand. When should I go to Pennsylvania to catch a golden rainbow? And in Pennsylvania, people laugh and go, "Oh, that's just a banana-looking thing in the middle of the river." Well, the rest of North America wants to catch one because it looks different.
Yeah,
we have a slang term for them here. The locals call them Palominos.
That's what we grew up
I don't know any other name for them. It's just
and that's what they were originally called in West Virginia when West Virginia was the first one to create this. So you're not wrong, but in Pennsylvania, technically, if it was stocked by the state, they call it a golden rainbow.
I can tell the total world from my short-term I almost said short-term disability trout fishing, because that's the frustration I have. If they are the snobbiest little fish, and you can throw everything you want at them, and they'll look at it.
They just don't eat it.
Please come and bring everything in your tackle box. They'll eat something, you just don't know what it is.
I've still never caught one.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never caught one. I've seen 1,000 of them.
Them and the tiger trout. I need to.
I think I caught a tiger trout, but it was one. Yeah, I got one.
Did you see the picture of the one out of the Conewago? Massive, 24-inch. It was massive.
You guys must not be using a lot of Potski, because every time we film, we catch them.
Well, let's
dive in.
I'm sold.
So about your filming, Chris, I really want to get into this bait. We're going to get into the bait talk here soon, but we got to get tidy up a couple of these housekeeping issues first. So
Tidy it up, Stevie.
Let's talk about the video. I haven't heard that in a while. Tell us a little bit about your videos and what you're doing there, why you're doing it.
You know, we established Pautzke Outdoors, I want to say 4 years ago. I know we filmed probably close to 350 episodes in the U.S. and Canada.
Wow.
And we travel. Personally, I go with different guys about 300 days a year to do this. And a lot of people think people think it's exclusively, we just want to sell bait. And of course we do. We're a business. We want to sell bait. However, the purpose of Pautzke Outdoors came when our owner and I talked, and we said we have to do something to get more people out fishing. And I know people love, I don't want anybody else out fishing because I want the whole all to myself. Well, if you don't get people out fishing, the budgets of the states go down, you lose the resource, less trout stocking. Our goal is to get young people and to get people that used to fish out there fishing again. So we're showing you that when you buy our stuff or when you use a trout gear or anything like that, this isn't like you have to go invest in $1,000 of gear. You can go out there really for $50 and have everything you need and catch fish.
You hear that, Stevie?
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, I know a lot of these guys have real expensive rods, and those are great too. But our goal is, you guys have seen it. What do kids do nowadays? They put their head down at the table. They're texting. They're watching something on YouTube. They're on Instagram. You know, they're on Snapchat, which I'm happy to say that we don't have. You know, we want people to get out there and fish and communicate with each other and get outdoors. And that's part of why we do this. And that's part of why we film as much as we do, is we want to keep America fishing, and we hope we're doing our job. We're working hard at it. And, you know, it brings out the worst and the best in people, because we have such a large audience. We post videos and we get some real haters out there that don't like what we're doing. But the reality is we're very careful what we promote. We go where fish are stocked. We're not trying to kill wild fish populations and send everybody there to catch every one of them.
Right.
We're promoting resources that are put there for the purpose of people catching and keeping those fish. And the more people we can get, you know, to get outside and enjoy the outdoors and to stop texting for a second and get their bobber to go down, the better we're doing. So, you know, we work really hard. It's a strike indicator. Yeah, there you go. Well, depending on who you talk to.
Hater.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, we try to film as much as we can. And like I said, Pennsylvania, we have done more in Pennsylvania than we've probably done in any other state in the last couple of years.
We're happy to have you.
Well, at least we know somebody's happy to have us there.
How do people access those videos?
Well, you know, if you go to Team Potski on YouTube, you'll see hundreds of them. We have a lot of fans on Facebook and Instagram, and really in the next couple weeks with your trout season opening next Saturday, you know, we're dropping videos almost every couple of days in Pennsylvania, and you'll see a lot of these places that are super popular. We're showing you how to catch fish, where to go, you know, and the secrets on how we do it. And we're very honest. If we don't catch fish on our product, we don't say we catch fish on our product. You can see us make the cast. You can see the fish come in, and we know our stuff works. We haven't been around since 1934 because we have a product that doesn't work. Right. Obviously, it works.
Right.
So we've had a great time in Pennsylvania in the last couple of years.
I was going to say it's either that or A for effort for you guys doing it for so long.
I'll tell you, the only thing I don't like about Pennsylvania is scrapple, and I hate to bring that to you guys, but
hang up on this.
I'm done. What's scrapples?
We have a
speak bad
very
about that.
thorough pre-screening process, and I thought that this is one of the.
I don't like scrapple either. I burned my mouth on it a couple weeks ago.
Number 28 on the pre-screening list. Do you like scrapple? Yes or no?
I'm not a native, and I like scrapple.
It depends on
I really do. I mean, I really like
You got to have homemade scrapple. You'll
Yeah, you
change your
just
mind.
had the wrong kind.
I could live without it, Chris. I'm with you.
And they got it. I like it a little on the thicker side, but cook it crispy.
I mean, we might eat a half pound of whoopie pies a day when we're there, but we can't do the scrapple.
There we go.
thing,
You mean gobs?
You mean gobs?
Yeah, you weren't around
What's going on here?
Bedford County.
No, out west they call them gobs, and in the east
Western
part,
PA, they call them gobs. Yeah.
Yeah, and then eastern PA they call them whoopie pies, and it's so apparently you have a lot more exposure to the eastern.
So let's move into actual trout fishing, Chris, if we can.
Like tackle, like terminal tackle
Details.
Because we like to talk about terminal tackle.
Terminal tackle. Yeah. Let's move into the details of trout fishing. And let's start with, I've never been trout fishing before in my life.
Me?
Well,
That's
you
not true.
fish.
In the last
15 years.
last 15 years. So let's start with, I've never been fishing before for trout, and I just want to get out there and have a good time. What
Adult onset trout fishing.
adult onset trout fishing? Where do we get started? How does Potski help us?
To be honest, simple is really good in the beginning. Any simple spinning rod. And the one mistake we see made all over North America is line class or pound test or, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. We always tell people, you're fishing for a trout. You don't need anything bigger than 4-pound test. And we see guys, whether it's in Pennsylvania or California or Colorado, and if they're new to fishing, they go to the sporting goods store and they buy a pre-spooled rig, and they're out there fishing with 12-pound tests to catch a trout.
Yeah.
And that's one common mistake that we see everywhere. People think, I'll just tie it to the end of this line right here. They have the wrong hook size. When it comes to trout, smaller is better. A lot of times a size 10, 12, 14 hook with a single, maybe 1 or 2 BB split shots, 4-pound test, and we use a float. Why do we use a float? Well, we catch and release fish. I'm not a big trout eater, and neither is anybody that fishes with us. So we have a float because we can see the hit instantly, and we're able to set the hook. We hook the fish in the side of the mouth, and we're able to release them. And if you stay simple like that, you can catch fish all the time, And when it comes to Potski or really any bait company, whether it's Berkeley, whether it's Atlas Mikes, whether it's Pautzke, there's always several components that work on every trout, no matter what stream you fish. When it comes to Potski, I think our secrets, which it's not a secret to many, but the number one selling egg in Pennsylvania is a pink egg. It's not ours, but it's a pink egg. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they've been using pink eggs in Pennsylvania since longer than all of us have been alive.
Yeah.
And they've
we
been
were
doing
raised
that
on it.
because, that's pink was what was in the local sporting goods store forever.
Mm-hmm.
What works better than a pink egg is our Potski Natural Deluxe egg. We have filmed with that product more than anywhere in the country in Pennsylvania. Reason being, natural sells. The fish bite it. No matter what stream we've been on, it's worked. There's 2 things we use in Pennsylvania that I don't know if I think they're not as popular because people don't know about them and they don't know they're readily available. One is our feed pellet brown fire bait, and people look at it in the store and go, why would I want this? I've been buying Chartreuse and Rainbow. or pink my whole life. Well, guess what, fellas? What do you think the pellets look like in the hatchery? They're brown. Most of them are brown or dark colored.
Yeah. I was literally just thinking about that.
Chris just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Hatch in the hatch.
Did you ever go to the hatchery where you can do the coin operated?
Yeah, the coin op. Yeah.
Well, it's brown.
Well, well, I was just thinking about that. We got we got to see this nursery cam, and everything that was dropping in was brown. And I'm like, boy, if we had somebody who had this brown looking bait, I'm sure it would kill.
Yeah. I never
you
put
just
two
blew
and two
my
together
mind
on that. Yeah.
Here's what's the most ironic thing ever. So we have a product called Feed Pellet Brown Fire Bait. It's our brown fire bait, which is a dough bait. You roll it into a ball, you put it on the hook, the fish eat it. Okay, Walmart put it in every store in the state of Pennsylvania a year ago. It is the worst selling item in the trout section. It is probably the one item that will catch you more fish than anything else in that store.
Whoa, repeat that, Chris, would you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not kidding when I say it works better than anything else in there.
Really?
Because look at it. You're matching the hatch, as they say, if you're a fly fisherman.
The irony.
I promise you right now, when we're done, I'm going to go unload everything that our Walmart has.
Well, they have a lot of it because it's not been selling, and I'm not afraid to say the truth. It has not been selling. Reason being, people look at it and it's not appealing to the eye. No different than, you guys probably don't know this, but we probably sold Green Label as our number one seller. It's a red salmon egg with a green lid. When Potski was first made in 1934, red eggs or natural colored eggs, which are kind of yellowish or orangish depending on where you get them, or it could be almost pale depending on where you get them. They didn't sell in stores. So Ernie Pautzke basically said, you know what? Maybe if we paint these kind of like you paint an Easter egg, if you paint them red, people will buy them. And guess what? Balls of Fire was born, and I want to say over 80 million jars of just that one egg has sold because it's red and it appeals to the angler. And that's a perfect example of right now. We know, people in the hatcheries know, experienced fishermen know that hatchery pellets, the trout eat them. Why do they eat them? Because, well, that's what they've been fed every day in the hatchery.
Well, Joe Dirt said it best. It isn't what you like. It's what the trout like.
Yeah, snakes and sparklers. They're the best.
It's true.
It's amazing. And, I was just in Pennsylvania about a month ago. We did a little filming in Eastern PA. They hadn't stocked him since May, and this was like late December, early January. And every store we went in, they told us, no, we don't want any more of that feed pellet brown stuff. And I said, it's the best. You got to just sell it. People will keep coming back and buying it. Well, most stores barely sold any. And they're not selling it because people think it doesn't work, because it's not appealing to their eyes. No different than why does our natural deluxe salmon eggs work so well? They're in every Walmart in the state of Pennsylvania. They're at Bass Pro. They're at Cabela's. People can't get them. They're not buying them because, that's just kind of bland. That doesn't look good. Well, you know who it looks good to? The trout, because you know what? That looks like a natural egg and they eat it. So, and the other thing we tell people, we get these messages on, Facebook Messenger, and people say, your eggs are terrible. They don't stay on the hook. And I say, okay, well, what kind of hook are you using? Oh, I'm using a size 4 bait holder. Well, that's why it's not staying on the hook. And
you're obliterating.
We try to help people. Yeah, I mean, guys, small. Look at the size of the egg and look at the size of the hook. If you use a single salmon egg hook with 1 to 2 eggs, you're going to get 1,000 more bites than if you use a size 4 bait holder.
You could, dude, you nailed it. Because when I was a kid trout fishing, I guess that's why I didn't like it. Because God bless him, I'm gonna throw Uncle Rusty under the bus. But
poor Uncle Rusty.
We would get there super early. Everything was packed. The tea was hot. Everything was perfect when I went trout fishing.
You guys even took tea?
Like perfect. But we used 6'6" catfish rods with 14-pound tests and 4-pound like number 4 circle hooks, and I telling you, like a robin egg sized piece of power bait. Like we were getting a trout to come in, buddy. And like I learned later in life, like this is not what you do. And I didn't realize that when we were kids, because that's what I was taught, and that's why I don't think we ever caught any trout. They were intimidated by the power bait monster that couldn't get down their throat.
So
half a loaf of bread.
When you're fishing the eggs on a size 12 hook, are we drifting through the hole? Kind of casting upstream and drifting down through, or what's your presentation look like?
Well, as a rule, trout are on the bottom and they come up and grab baits, and what we tell people is we use a float. Okay.
Yeah.
And we want that float to basically allow that egg to drift naturally down the hole. A lot of people bottom bounce that egg, but when you bottom bounce that egg, I'll tell you what, you're going to get snagged up a lot. And,
tell me about it.
Yeah, a lot. And so we stopped doing it. We use a float, and people look at us like, this guy's using a float. He doesn't know what he's doing. Well, we just caught 50 in this hole that you didn't catch any. And we're not a better angler than anybody else. We're simply trying to fish smarter, not harder, and use simple techniques to catch more fish.
That, yeah.
And, Pennsylvania is kind of odd in a way that it's the only state I know that actually has a party every time they stock fish. There's a convoy.
Holler.
And
it's like a tailgating
and a police
party.
officer, and everybody lines up and follows the truck. I've never seen that before. No other state tells you when they're stocking.
That's how you know where the palominos are.
So,
have
you guys
golden
ever heard of
trout.
Whipple Dam?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So there's a creek that comes into Whipple Dam, and they stocked it last year, and we wanted to try something. So we went to this creek, and you guys will see the video come out here in about a week or two. And they stocked brook trout like they always stock in this creek. And we went in there and we brought GoPros and we put underwater cameras down there. And the creek is called Laurel Run. It's pretty popular. It's published. We put GoPros down there and we drifted. Our feed pellet brown firebait was the first thing we put down. And one guy came by. He was an old timer. He had minnows. And they said, they don't eat that stuff. Okay. First cast, gone. Second cast, gone. And he stomped off. And a couple other guys came over, and we put some of our salmon eggs underwater with the camera because people tell us, oh, you guys lie. You don't catch stuff on that. So we put a camera down there and we showed the baits drifting underneath the float, right off the bottom. And these trout were fighting each other to eat it. Yeah, and these are stocked fish, but let's be real. Anywhere you can fish bait in Pennsylvania or anywhere else on the planet, they're stocked fish. And we're all trying to catch stocked fish.
Right.
And
it's still fun.
It's fun. I mean, I can tell you, I didn't even fish that day.
Was that Uncle Rusty that was giving you heck? Sounds like Uncle Rusty.
There you go.
Poor Uncle Rusty.
So it's just what we were talking about. Fish better, fish smarter, you're going to catch more fish.
Chris, does your dough bait float?
If our dough bait didn't float, then we probably wouldn't sell any of it. We wouldn't have it. It wouldn't work. Every dough bait has a couple components to it. So our dough bait is called fire bait. Potski came out with it in the 80s when Berkeley came out with theirs. And then it kind of just went away. And about 5-6 years ago, we brought it back. And there's several components of it. Color. Certain fish key on certain colors. The other thing is scent. You want it to smell like a hatchery formula or have things like garlic in it that fish love. The other thing is floatability. And if your bait does not float, you have a bad product. There are dough baits out there in many sporting good retailers that I've seen that do not float. And that's why people buy them once and never buy them again.
Yeah.
The other thing is you have to have what I would like to call moldability. It has to mold into a ball. And a lot of them don't do that either. And our bait does all those kind of things. So what's amazing is we do what nobody else does. We fish a lot of our fire bait under a float. Why do we do that? Most people just throw fire bait, they plunk it out there, they let it sit on the bottom, it floats up and the fish eats it. But what happens when that fish eats it? It swallows it.
Yeah.
It's halfway down to Philadelphia by the time you pull the hook.
Almost every time.
Yeah. Well, if you fish it under a float, you'll catch as many fish and you'll hook them right in the mouth every time. And that's because we're able to see that hit right away.
So most of the time with other, at least in Pennsylvania, most folks will fish dough baits on a slack Carolina rig, like you'd be using for
like a sliding sinker.
Yeah. So the bait's floating up off the water a foot or two, or up off the bottom a foot or two. Yeah. So what you're saying is you basically, is the bait floating under or with a bobber beside it? How does that, or do you use some weights to kind of take the bait down?
What we like to do is, and like I said, we're doing this because we want to release fish.
Yeah.
We're there for the sport. We're having fun. We want to release a fish and know it's going to live, not be one of those guys that, pulls his gills out, puts it in there and releases it, and it swims off and floats up.
Yeah.
If you simply do the technique we do, and most of the time in Pennsylvania, we use a float, and then you kind of stagger BB split shots down towards the bottom. If you do that, it'll drift just like an egg. And because it's a hatchery formula and it's a little bit less messy than eggs, a lot of guys love doing that. And we fish the same rig, whether you're using salmon eggs, whether you're using dough bait, whether you're using an imitation, egg. We fish the same exact eggs or the same exact method for every bait we use there, unless we're at a reservoir and we're just casting out there and letting that bait float up, which is a little bit different. And people in Pennsylvania love that kind of fishing as well.
What about fishing in a lake where there's not really any current?
Well, if you're fishing in a lake, we do things two different ways. We either float a salmon egg off, below a bobber, and you can adjust that depending on the depth you're doing, or we do what you guys were just talking about, and that's throwing your line out there, sinker goes to the bottom, and then your dough bait, floats up, and the fish swim by and eat it, because we're a bait company, a lot of times they swallow that bait. Sure. But a lot of people that are fishing reservoirs, they're there because they want to eat those fish, and that's great. That's the resource that was put there for them.
Yep.
Chris, what got you started in the outdoor industry?
I hate to say this, but I'm 40 now, so I've been in it about 20 years, a little bit more than that. I grew up in Los Angeles. Yeah, I don't tell anybody that, but I grew up. What's that?
3 of us just turned 40 last year, so we're
that's when it hit me too. So,
really?
I grew up in Los Angeles, and
the trout capital of the United States.
The trout, and believe it or not, they stock trout 10 minutes from downtown LA.
No way.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of them, and people go up to the mountains and fish. And,
wow.
It's kind of a big deal there too. We do have an opener in April, like you guys do. It's the last Saturday in April.
Wow.
But I used to write fishing books when I was younger. I used to work for the LA Times as an outdoor sports writer.
Cool.
And I wrote for all the fishing magazines, and I used to love and live fishing. And then I met the owner of Potski, and him and I became best friends. And since my mid-20s, that's all I've done is live and breathe Pautzke Bait. And it's been a blessing because I've been able to travel all over the world and film with them. And,
was your first trout straight out of Compton? What?
Yes, I love it.
Just checking.
Close enough.
Potski has some products for the live bait fishermen to help those guys out, right?
Yeah, our fire dye came out several years ago, and it's pretty incredible, to be honest. We didn't design fire dye for live bait. And one of our greatest pro staffers, Kevin Davis of Catch the Drift from upstate New York, he has since passed fairly recently. He's probably one of the most well-known salmon and steelhead fishermen in the entire Great Lakes. And he called me one day. He's like, "Hey, man, that stuff you sent me, it's the best ever. You got to look at this picture." And he texted me this picture of this Chartreuse minnow he was using, on Lake Ontario Tribs. I said, "Dude, how did you do that? We got to do that. What did you use?" And he said, "I used your fire dye." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, you didn't know it worked on live bait?" And I said, "Come on, dude, that ain't ours." He goes, "Yeah, it is. You got to get on a plane and get up here. I'll show you." And Kevin showed me, and since Kevin came up with that, we kind of went back to the bait lab and strengthened up the formula, and now it works on live bait, pretty much all live bait.
How?
And so check this out.
Tell me how.
You just rocked Bucky's world right here.
Here's what I got to tell you. You must follow instructions, which fishermen do not like to do.
Well,
come on.
We have a little 4-ounce looking bottle, and it's all dyed.
And you just dump it in the bucket and wait overnight.
It's $10 for the bottle in most places. And most people say, oh, that's outrageous. I don't want to pay for that. And we go, okay, that's your choice.
You need what,
You'll
2
pay
drops?
$15 for a lure. But you won't pay this much to dye as many minnows as you want. So if you follow the instructions on the bottle and you pour that bottle in there, and then you pour the X amount of bottles of water in there that we tell you, and you don't just pour the whole thing into a 5-gallon bucket, within 20 minutes, your bait will be chartreuse green as can be. And it does not kill the fish. It doesn't kill the bait. All it does is kind of paint them. It's the only product in the world that works that way. I know there's another company out there that claims they have a product that works that way. We encourage you to try it because your fish will die instantly. We have done it many times.
Chris,
however,
if you want to kill your bait, try their stuff.
Purple smoke just came out of both my ears. My mind is blown. That is so cool. I'm gonna
be dying some bait.
I'm dying some bait.
So get this: about 2 years ago, I was in Spring Mills.
Yeah.
And one of the young guys that's on our pro staff, he's like, hey, I got that bottle of fire dye in my car. I'm going to go get it. I said, for what? He goes, you don't see all these brown trout chasing minnows? Watch this. So these two mountain men, I would like to call them, because they lived in the woods their whole life and they know fishing better than anybody does. They go out in their car and they get this thing where they kind of corral up a bunch of live bait out of the creek, and they put them all in a bucket and they squirt the dye in there. And it was on, I want to say it was called, it's a tributary to Penns Creek. It's called Sinking Creek. I remember this. So, it's 25 minutes from Penn State. And they grab these chartreuse minnows, and people are walking by us looking at us like, what are these guys doing? First cast, wham. Second cast, wham. And then you see regular minnows not getting bit anymore. Well, some people say it's a gimmick. Okay, and that's fine. If you think it's a gimmick, you don't have to use it. But what we do know is if there's 1,000 minnows in the water and there's one chartreuse one swimming around, that fish is going to get curious and go attack that thing. And we have filmed all over North America with it. And you were talking about crappie earlier.
Yeah.
The newest, hottest bait in the crappie industry is our chartreuse fire dye minnows. And people go, where can I buy these chartreuse minnows? You can't. You got to make them yourself. You buy the bottle.
Catfish,
you
can make some minnows.
We've done it.
Yeah, it's wild.
We've done it at the shop with Logan.
Yeah.
They've I don't know if it was their product, but it had to have been if the other product dies. So
Yeah, and get this. So it works on bluegill. It works on perch. It works on. So when we were down south, they're bluegill the size of my hand. We'd throw them in the solution.
Yeah.
Take them out, put them on a hook, and you've never seen a flathead eat. It's like it's eating a chartreuse minnow or a chartreuse bluegill before. It works excellent.
Now you got my attention.
You got catfish popping out of his chair.
That's his bag of flatheads.
It is insane. We'll be in Pennsylvania in May. You want to do it? I'll bring the dye. You bring us to the water, and we'll do it. And it is. Wow. It's pretty exciting. And it works on everything.
Yeah, you want to shoot a flathead show? Let's do this.
Done.
We love flatheads. It's a lot of fun. We did
I have a few
Susquehanna years ago.
I have quite a few secret spots.
What about for like saltwater bait, like shrimp or mud minnows or something like that?
To be honest, it works even better in saltwater because the baits are more durable in saltwater. We've gone down to Florida and we've taken shrimp and used pink fire dye, and that shrimp is bright pink or chartreuse or blue, and it doesn't bother me.
There's different colors.
Nuts.
So we got one guy that's from New Jersey. And he goes out on the boat and he takes fresh clam, and he cuts them into pieces, and he takes squid strips with the fire dye. If you put it in a Ziploc bag and it touches the fire dye, it turns the color of the dye instantly and never loses color. So you could take that squid strip, drop it into the pink fire dye or the Chartreuse fire dye, and 3 seconds later pull it out, and it holds the color, maintains the color for the life of that bait. And nobody knows about it. They don't do it. Everybody out west does it, but in the
send us a case of that, please.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean,
I'm going to make a
not
video.
only will it dye the squid strip, it'll dye your fingers too. So be careful.
Oh boy!
As I sit here and draw my hand with a Sharpie set, we're good with that.
Chris, where can people buy Pautzke stuff? Where can people buy Pautzke bait?
Where can they buy the dye? That's what I'm.
That's all he wants to know.
What's amazing to us is Pennsylvania is still fairly new for the Potski customer.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania has long been an Atlas Mike's customer forever, just simply because that's what's been in the stores there. If you go to any Walmart in Pennsylvania, they have a ton of our stuff. Bass Pro and Cabela's, while they're few and far between, they carry all of our stuff. Unfortunately, some of the other retailers haven't picked up on it yet. We hope that they do. Fire dye, you can get it online anywhere. I think you may have problems finding it in Pennsylvania, although Bass Pro or Cabela's probably does have it. But fire dye it's one of the most amazing products I've ever seen, and honestly, we came out with it by accident, and it is now really taken off. Especially, the guys that use it in the saltwater, they don't tell anybody else because, the one thing is the guys with the big boats, they go, I'm not putting that's going to dye my boat. It really doesn't. Yeah. It just washes right off. It doesn't wash off your fingers, but it washes off the upholstery. It's amazing. But yeah, every single Pennsylvania Walmart carries our stuff.
Okay.
I know everybody's well stocked for the opener. We're hoping more local tackle shops pick up our stuff, and it is improving, but we can still be fairly hard to find in those markets, in the small tackle shops.
And you're saying the best bait at Walmart to catch trout is, what was it called again?
Why would you repeat it? We can't go buy it.
You're not going to be able to buy it because I've just wiped it out.
You wiped it out.
There's two that I would go for. If you're going to choose a salmon egg, I would go with the natural deluxe egg. That has been the best we've used in Pennsylvania. And if you're going to go with the dough bait or fire bait, I would use feed pellet brown. The peach garlic that's in those stores is phenomenal as well because of the garlic smell. But if you're wanting to imitate something coming right out of a hatchery, there's nothing better than the feed pellet. The other thing we tell people is, hey, with this, size matters. You don't want it to look like a donut. You want it to look like a tiny pellet. And that small piece that looks just like what it went into the hatchery is what's going to catch you that fish, not a piece that's the size of a walnut. You want it much smaller than that.
I'm going to laugh this Saturday whenever you and your kids crush it at Donegal and everybody's like, what are you using? That stuff that you won't buy at Walmart.
Hilarious.
There you go.
Yeah. I've bought the Pautzke Bait salmon eggs, but I've never bought the dough bait. So.
The only real time, like for me growing up using eggs, was for steelhead up in Erie.
Really?
And see, it's funny you said that because in the last 10 years, the only time I ever used eggs was ice fishing for crappies because crappies will eat them on a hook through the ice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Have you done anything with the Erie steelhead in Pennsylvania?
Oh, yeah. We were there in December for a week, I want to say. Weatherman told us there was going to be no snow. I landed in Pittsburgh. I rented this little tiny sedan. And by the time I got, 50 miles north, I was slip and sliding across the road all the way to Erie. So we've been to Erie. Yeah, it was a blast. We've been to Erie maybe 4 times in about 2-3 years and had a great time up there. Pennsylvania is incredible when it comes to numbers. Yeah. They may not have the size that some of the other states have for their steelhead, but some of these guys complain and say, oh, I only caught 7 or 8 today. And we're like, are you kidding me? If you lived out west and you caught 3, you'd be a hero. And, you don't have the size that they do out west, but Pennsylvania's numbers are incredible.
I think that's a hidden gem of Pennsylvania, steelhead.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and we've been real careful to not mention the names where we found there. We just say Steelhead Alley because people think it is a secret, even though it's not. But we've had a great time up in Erie. Really good time.
Chris, man, it's been great absolutely great listening to you. Like I'm not a giant trout fisherman, but you got me kind of curious, and you did your job tonight, man. Congratulations.
Definitely.
Like I'm ready to go shopping at Walmart to buy something that I never looked at before.
I'm blowing some stuff out there.
We'll be in Pennsylvania in a few weeks, but I can promise you one thing: I'm not eating the scrapple.
We will go flathead fishing, and we will dye some bluegills. I'll bring the bluegills. You bring the dye. I'll bring the boat.
I was just going to say, I can't wait to paint some bait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's pretty amazing. And if you have a kid and you put one Chartreuse minnow in the live well, they will not get bored the entire day. They'll just sit in there and look at it and go,
that's good to know.
So, it works on attention as well. So.
Easter's coming, man. Forget about painting them eggs. Get yourself some of this stuff and get some minnows.
Yeah, get a kid fishing.
Chris, before we let you go, we've got our final segment of our show is the Fast Five, where we ask you 5 questions and you just kind of rattle off the first answer that comes to mind.
Chris, what's one thing you can't live without in the outdoors?
This is like Family Feud. I'm on the spot.
Survey says
the outdoors. The bug repellent? I don't know.
There we go.
You guys stunned me on that one.
No, that's a new one.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Good one. Yeah. What are you most proud of? Question 2.
Most proud of? I think that we're most proud of keeping people fishing and bringing passion to anglers. I think that's what our goal is.
Awesome.
Very cool. What is one thing that you do daily to prepare for your outdoor lifestyle?
One thing we do daily is a lot of research. Reason being, we don't want to go to a stream that has no trout in it. We want to go somewhere where we can afford to be successful. So we definitely do a lot of research prior to that. We know we got good bait already.
Nice.
That's wonderful.
Since it's Trout of Control, I'm going to even limit you down even further with this next one. But what's on your trout bucket list for a guy who's done so much in the trout world?
That's really tough. I think if you guys knew me better, you'd probably know that I'm the most spoiled trout angler probably in North America. I've been just about everywhere. My bucket list, it really doesn't include me anymore. It's going out in streams and kind of helping kids catch fish and putting smiles on their faces. I've already lived that lifestyle, and we're trying to make sure that we pass it along just like we have since 1934. So it's I can afford to not be selfish at this point in my life.
That's great. Number 5.
What makes you happy?
Sweet tea.
I like it.
Ooh, my man.
I don't know. It's
write that down just in case we run into him in a stream somewhere.
Homemade sweet tea, or do you have a particular
homemade
brand?
The only place I found good sweet tea in Pennsylvania is actually Permane Brothers has some pretty good sweet tea. So
really?
I can't say that. Yeah, I think it's because the person in the back didn't quite pay attention, and they just poured all the sugar in there instead of just the one cup. But it's pretty good. I mean, we at Potski, we're never happy. We always strive to be the best we can and then exceed those goals. So we're kind of tough to please, but that's what keeps us successful and keeps us in business as well.
I love it.
Chris, how can people find Pautzke Outdoors and purchase Pautzke Bait if they wanted to learn more about you?
The easiest way to learn more about us is Pautzke.com. That's PAUTZKE.com. You can find everything about us there. The other 2 places, we're probably one of the most active social media giants, in the fishing industry. And if you go to Facebook, you can find us on there as Pautzke Bait. If you go to YouTube, you can find us on there as Team Potski, and then we also have a third, and that's Pautzke Bait on Instagram. You'll see daily stories. You'll see, multi-posts a day. You'll know exactly what we're doing and what our pro staffers are doing every single day of the year.
Awesome. Chris, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being part of
certainly has
Trout of Control April. With the
I love it. Thank you guys for inviting me.
Yeah, this episode was totally Trout of Control.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Thanks,
okay,
Chris.
thank
Take
you.
it easy, man. Bye.
All right. Bye.
What a show.
I can't believe it. That was really, really uber informational.
It was. And it was fun.
Yeah, I had a good time.
It was fun.
I want to go fishing with him.
I do too.
He's probably been in your favorite spot, it sounds like.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
He's been everywhere.
He's been there.
I love it.
Yeah, Trout of Control. Deke,
Yeah, bud.
I'm looking for something really exciting to do in July.
Well,
What do you got?
Strap yourself in, bud.
strap yourself in because this episode was brought to you in part by Smoke in the Grove Barbecue Festival.
Smoke in the Grove.
Man.
Don't miss all the action during the 3rd annual Smoke in the Grove Barbecue Festival presented by Kenny's Markets on July 26th and 27th in Spring Grove, Pennsylvania.
It's coming up.
Yeah.
Over 50 professional Kansas City Barbecue Society teams. So that's the KCBS.
Ooh.
That's the real deal.
That
These
is
guys
the
know
real
how
deal.
to smoke some meats.
They
I
do.
heard that.
Those teams will be competing for over $14,000 in cash
That's
prizes.
a chunk of cheese.
Plus
Kidding.
the state championship. So Pennsylvania State Championship will be crowned that weekend.
That's awesome.
Friday, there will be a first responders wing competition, so you can taste the wings that these first responders
That's what I'm
make
talking
and
about.
vote for them. There'll be plenty of live music all weekend long with bands like Velveeta Cheese will be on stage. All kinds
Get you some.
all kinds of activities for the family with beer, wine, and food trucks available all weekend.
I love food trucks.
If you have any
I'm
more
sorry.
questions, check it out at smokeinthegrove.com, and we hope to see everybody there.
When is that again?
SmokingTheGrove.com.
That is going to be July 26th and 27th in Spring Grove, Pennsylvania.
Oh, I'm loving it.
Very cool.
That is cool.
After we eat those burnt ends, Stevie, what can we do?
You know, while you're at the Smoke in the Grove Festival, you should pop on over and see our buddy Dakota Moses over at Moses Family Jerky. He's going to be there.
Go to mfjerky.com.
If you can't wait until then, go to mfjerky.com.
Promo code.
Pop in promo code Jerky Pursuits 15
Very nice.
to get you a whole whack of
15%
them.
off your entire order.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll do it.
Boys, it's been another great week.
I can't sleep.
It's early and it's already Trout of Control.
I can't sleep. Yeah.
You're 2 weeks into Trout of Control.
Oh, Mom, I'm telling you. That's a week, guys.
See ya.
Thank you.
Let's get Trout of here.
Riggin' Wheeling.
Peace. Trash Bandy Head River.
And the more people we can get, to get outside and enjoy the outdoors and to stop texting for a second and get their bobber to go down, the better we're doing. So, we work
It's a
really
strike
hard.
indicator.
Yeah, there you go. Well, depending on who you talk to.
Hater.
This is not what you do. And I didn't realize that when we were kids because that's what I was taught. And that's why I don't think we were caught any trout. They were intimidated by the power bait monster that couldn't get down their throat.
Was your first trout straight out of Compton? What?
Yes, I love it.
Just checking.